Håfa day, and welcome to the Red Rice and Fina'denne podcast. I'm Jay Byrd, Familia Nzeji Zampiju, and I'm extremely proud to introduce you to a new mini-series I'm releasing. It's titled Taotao Tåsi, People of the Ocean, and it's my tribute and my way of paying homage to my seafaring ancestry of Pacific navigators and to those who are doing it today. And recently, I had the privilege, the blessing, the opportunity, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for an informal interview with Master Navigator Palu Larry Raigetal and have his blessings to share stories of how our people open sea lanes to reach island destinations and the importance of exchange, permission, and respecting indigenous knowledge. But before I get into that, I got to give a little bit of context. So just a day before I got to sit down with Palu Larry, I was at the 2023 Chetlu Festival in San Marcos, California, and I received a pamphlet from a nonprofit organization on Guam that goes by TASA, Traditions Affirming Our Seafaring Ancestry. And it was handed to me by a very brave and talented Chamorro voyager, Sandra Okada. She's got this like classic auntie vibe to me, which is like immediately caring right away, but also like, hey, like a little cautious. I really enjoyed my time with her and I learned so much. So thank you, Sandra. And after reading through the pamphlet when I got home, I thought it would be the perfect way to kick off this mini-series, Taotao Tåsi, with a little bit of history of how my people, the Pacific people, got to the Pacific in the first place. So here's the words of Sandra Okada.
Chamorro ancestors from the area known as Island Southeast Asia braved an expansive and unpredictable Pacific Ocean. They would traverse the deep blue void in hollowed-out trees. These hand-carved and planked wooden vessels were lashed together with natural coconut husk fibers and sealed with tree sap. The wind filled their pandanus woven triangular cells, which provided the vessel's propulsion. Their voyage was cloud, current, bird, and celestially navigated. This initial small group of fearless founding ancestors voyaged over 1,700 miles from what is theorized to be currently known as Taiwan. Today, this voyaging event is recognized as the single longest open ocean voyage in human history at that time. They voyaged against the wind, eastward into the brutal heat, but welcoming rising sun of each new morning. Their sacrifice would soon be rewarded by the sighting of land. Guided by the elements and protected by ancestral spirits, they would soon find safe harbor. Our founding voyaging ancestors landed upon the shores of Guam. With this single feat, the first Pacific island was habited, and thus began the peopling of the Marianas archipelago approximately 4,000 to 4,200 years ago. This event gave rise to what would become an ingenious and superior Chamorro seafaring society.
So let's try something. From wherever you are right now on this big, beautiful earth, try and imagine a calm, sandy beach. Because that's where we're going to gather and prepare for our long journey to the Marianas Islands. So when you're there and you've found that beach, look up to the night sky and now look for the North Star. In Chamorro we say Titimek. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I'll try it again. Titimek. It's also known as Polaris. And to kick off our navigation journey, we will begin with a song titled Polaris by Chamorro singer and songwriter Sabu from his 2016 EP, Navigator. In Chamorro, Taotao Tåsi means people of the ocean. And this series is dedicated to Pacific navigators, the guardians of knowledge and the messengers to our ancestors. Coincidentally enough, I couldn't find a windscreen to the microphone I used during the interview, so there's a lot of wind in the background. But I find it fitting, because when I listen to it, it makes me feel like I'm on a sakman, a canoe, and the salty sea breeze is massaging my face. And the canoe is led by Palu Larry Raigetal, an indigenous Micronesian master navigator of the sea. Wow. Master Navigator Palu Larry Raigetal holds a sacred title called Palu because he's been trained by the ways of ancient Micronesian seafaring by his grandfather, his grandfather's grandfather, his grandfather's 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 grandfather, and so on and so forth for 4,000 years. He's Carolinian, and he comes from an island called Lumatrek, an outer island atoll of Yap State, which is part of the federated state of Micronesia, about 500 miles southeast of Guam. In modern-day description, he's Micronesian. Like me, someone part of the Chamorro diaspora. Manatau Sanlagu. He says of us islanders that we're all Taotao Tåsi. We always have been, and we always will be. Welcome to our canoe.
There's a lot of legends and stories that link you and I and the islanders as people of the ocean. You know, Taotao Tåsi, people of the land, Taotao Tåsi, people of the ocean. But I think before we became the people of the land, we were people of the ocean. You know, and so we pierce that ocean, and some of us, I can trace my lineage that takes me back to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, because that's Songafru. That's where he took my lineage down, at the very bottom of that trench.
I know. I am so incredibly excited about this journey, but we're not going to go to the bottom of the trench. Don't trip. We're just going to Guam. But now that you have a sense of how deeply rooted in our culture this voyage is, and that you've met our Palu, our navigator, it's time to prepare. We've already gone into the village and asked for the blessings from the Saina, our elders, and now we're at the beach, asking for permission from the sea. And with us, placed in our canoe, are the gifts from our family and friends and villagers to help us on our voyage. They've given us dried fish, cooked taru, lemai, breadfruit, nidzuk, coconut, and so much more, all wrapped in a guafik, a woven mat, or neatly placed in a woven basket. We're ready. It's time. At last! I feel like I've been dreaming about this my whole life. But Palu Larry pauses. He tells us to wait and be patient, to close our eyes, because first we must open the ocean. He grabs a paddle made of hibiscus wood and holds one end of it to his forehead. And he places the paddle side pointed down to the ground. He then closes his eyes and centers himself, what appears to be mentally and spiritually. And he begins an old Carolinian chant called Sumatao.
Sugi Mea Pisigi Medana Yaigo Ya Dililongo Landi Medawi Madawani Gayolanga Madawani Kamanga Madawani Get you nga Madawani Gamwa nga Sa Medaminagu Feuille me Beto, ele deu anime, aí ne me dawe, on luma, ele sure, evo sugamo, rechengani mana, imani su me dawe, evo su evoa. Evo susula, evo awala, on fane gaito.
Now that Palu Larry has opened the ocean for us, and our canoe is connected to the island that we seek, Guam, it's time to get in. And I'll see you next time on the Red Rice and Fina'denne podcast. Taotao Tåsi. Situ Mase.